I call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Board of Trustees, May 2nd, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott, noted absent. Trustee LeKind.
Here.
Trustee Romanello,
Here.
Trustee Shaning, Trustee Stevens.
Here.
Okay, before us, we have a consent agenda. Do we have any modifications to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. First item on the agenda, item 3A, National Business Week. Ms. Shaning.
We have a proclamation recognizing National Small Business Week for 2022. Whereas America's strongest economic growth in almost 40 years has been driven by the resilience of our small businesses who, despite a worldwide pandemic, continue to pioneer innovative solutions to our country's greatest challenges and create opportunities for families and workers. Whereas from the storefront shops that anchor Main Street to the high-tech startups that keep America on the cutting edge to the small manufacturers driving our competitiveness on the global stage, small businesses are the backbone of our economy and the cornerstones of our nation's promise. And whereas when we support small business, jobs are created and local communities preserve their unique culture. And whereas because this country's 32.5 million small businesses create nearly 2 out of 3 jobs in our economy, we cannot resolve ourselves to create jobs and spur economic growth in America without discussing ways to support our entrepreneurs. And whereas the President of the United States has proclaimed National Small Business Week every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs through the U.S. Small Business Administration and other government agencies. And whereas the town of Monument supports and joins in this national effort to help America's small businesses do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our local communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, the Town of Monument Board of Trustees hereby proclaims May 1st through the 7th of 2022 as National Small Business Week in the Town of Monument and encourages all residents to support Monument small businesses.
Okay, is the board in agreement with this proclamation?
Yes.
Okay, so it is proclaimed. Thank you, Trustee Shaning.
Thank you.
Item 4A, oath of office, Chief Hemingway.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Town staff, residents, and visitors. It's my distinct honor tonight to present Officer Barraza and Officer Degenhardt to be sworn in. At this time, you can bring up your family members. Good evening. Good evening. To my right is Officer Barraza, and to my left is Officer Degenhardt. With Officer Barraza tonight is his Cami, his fiance, stepson Tyler, And we got Boyd, who will be the best man at his wedding in June. Congratulations to both of you. Yeah, but he can only have like 3 days off. He doesn't have any vacation time yet. Yeah. Jose graduated high school from the Antelope High School in Yuma, Arizona, and he also graduated the Pikes Peak Regional Law Enforcement Academy, where he was certified as a police officer. He served with us from 1997 to 2004 in the U.S. Army. He retired as a sergeant in the military police unit. Thank you for your service. His prior law enforcement experiences is 22 years combined. He worked for Fountain PD, Fort Carson as a civilian police officer, where he was, and he also was awarded throughout his career the Ken Jordan DUI Officer of 2005 for the Pikes Peak region. And that was named after an officer who died. Yeah, so that's some honor. So thank you. And that was from the Pikes Peak region. And he was also Officer of the Year in 2018, presented by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for his arrest and his status as a DRE officer, which is really a very perishable art that you actually have to do an internship at a hospital so you can testify to somebody being intoxicated basically on your observations and not scientific lab evidence. So that's a very huge accomplishment. He enjoys riding horses. He told me what kind, but I can't remember, with his fiance. So sounds like a good deal. And to my left is Officer Dakota Degenhart. With Dakota is his dad, Jared, his mom, Felicia, and brothers Colton and Brody. You guys got a big brother, huh? Proud of him? Yeah, you ought to be. Dakota graduated high school from Castle View High School, and he's a graduate of the Arapahoe Community College, where he also received his post-certification to be a police officer. And prior to us getting him, he served with the Leadville Police Department for 10 months, and he was the class president of his police academy. So congratulations on that. And he enjoys hunting and watching baseball. So at this time, we'd like to thank you for your service in law enforcement, but it's truly with great confidence that I present Officers Barraza and Degenhart to this town administration, to our Board of Trustees, to their Monument Police family, and to the great residents of the town of Monument, as they enter their role as police officers, serving a wonderful community. Welcome aboard. Special congratulations. Mayor and Council, we appreciate your time on that. Thank you.
Chief? Chief?
Commander, can you come back, please? You have your copy or no? Does anybody remember why we're here tonight? Or you can come up so you can read it with me. Raise your right hands and just face the audience. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and laws
and allegiance to the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America and the state of Colorado,
and the state of Colorado,
and to the ordinances of the town of Monument,
and to the ordinance
and that I will defend and protect the lives, the safety and property of the people of Monument,
of safety and property,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and that I will partially discharge the duty
of office of peace officer according to the best of my ability.
according to
So help me God.
so help me God.
Now it is official. Mayor Wilson, thank you for helping me through that.
Trustee Stevens gets the credit for that.
Thank you, Trustee.
Okay, moving on to item 5A, Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce presentation. Ms. Hayes. Anywhere.
Oh, so you have it in your packet? Yes, I did send it in. I have, mine's not really full. I have notes all over. Share it with. Sorry, I thought.
Mrs. Hayes, will you get with Mr. Anderson real quick and we will move on to the next presentation and come back? Item 5B, Colorado City and County Manager Association presentation. Mr. Trainer.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Members of the Board of Trustees, really appreciate being here. My name is Scott Trainer. I'm a representative of the city of Colorado, the Colorado City and County Managers Association. That's why I'm here tonight. And it's my honor to be here tonight because I want to talk about your wonderful town manager here. Just for those who may not be aware, every year, the CCCMA, representing the Colorado counties and cities, receives a number of nominations for from various communities for their town or county managers, talking about, you know, the great things that they've done. And this year was no exception. We received a number of nominations for various nominees from around the state. A lot of great communities doing a lot of wonderful things and a lot of great leaders as well. And I had an opportunity to look at those nominations, and there were some great ones. But your town manager, Mike Foreman, rose to the top of those and was selected as the Colorado City Manager of the Year for towns around the state. And so just want to come and if I could share a few comments that were made in the nomination. And I think this really reflects Mike and a lot of the great things he's done for your communities. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a few excerpts if I could. I just wanted to read for everyone. He consistently strives for excellence and creates an environment of continuous improvement while also mentoring other managers and staff to lead and inspire others. He's a champion for staff and encourages and supports professional development and training for all employees. As some examples of Mike's passion and dedication, Mike recognized several employees that were not being used to their full potential and spent time mentoring them, inviting them to be involved in various special projects and allowing them to showcase their potential. This has led to promoting emerging leaders into leadership positions and providing opportunities for staff to stretch their skills and grow in their positions. Another great comment, in addition to the commitment to staff, Mike also volunteers for programs such as DECA, Rotary, and our local resource agency. Mike has been working to build partnerships with several surrounding water districts to provide a regional approach for future water supplies. He also secured financial resources to meet a backlog of $22 million of water infrastructure projects without raising rates or taxes. And then the last one I want to just mention here is, additionally, I believe it was due to Mike's efforts of creating transparency, education, and information that our citizens passed three measures in the 2021 election. A 0.5% sales tax increase for public safety, the Home Rule Charter Commission, and debrucing, allowing the town to retain excess revenues for road construction and maintenance. Each of these will allow the town to continue to serve our community with excellence. Just wanted to share those because I think they reflect just the exceptional leader that you have here in your town manager and Mike. And I can just speak as a fellow Pikes Peak area city manager and say that the respect that your town manager has throughout the region and really throughout the state, it's just phenomenal. This is a guy who's a true leader and very well respected in the profession. And so, Mike, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you to come over here and receive this, but on behalf of CCCMA, I'm going to present you with the Manager of the Year.
Mayor, is it okay if I say something? Well, as I said at, CCCMA conference when I got this, and what a surprise it was to be able to receive this. I don't get this without staff. Staff is the one that does this. This is a town award. It's not an award for me. It's an award for our town. It's an award for our staff. So everybody, I'd like you to give a great round of applause to our staff. Some announcements.
Let me just say congratulations to Mike and let him know that I'm standing up in my RV applauding him.
Thank you, Trustee LaKine. So 4 other recognitions that we'd like to make that are coming up. May 1st through the 7th, 2022 is the 53rd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. We'd like to recognize our municipal clerk, Laura Hogan, and Deputy Clerk, Tina Erickson. We appreciate their vital services they provide for our local government and our community. So thank you very much, ladies. This week's also Public Service Recognition Week. The purpose of celebrating this week is to admire and honor the people who deliver public service to us and make everyday chores possible for us. It's thanks to efforts of the public service employees that we are able to go about our daily lives. So this week we recognize our volunteer boards and commissions and our staff and shine the spotlight on their work. So that's our board and all of our staff. So thank you all very much. And Chief, National Police Week is observed May 11th through the 17th. Again, this year, communities across the United States will honor and remember those law enforcement officers who made the ultimate sacrifice, as well as their family members, friends, and fellow officers they left behind. This year, the names of 619 officers killed in the line of duty, 319 fatalities were COVID-19 related, are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. These 619 officers include 472 officers who were killed during 2021, plus 147 officers who died in previous years, but whose stories of sacrifice have been lost to history until now. So congratulations to all our chiefs and our police officers, and also in memorial to the ones that we lost. And last but not least, May 15th through the 21st, 2022 is National Public Works Week, where we recognize and celebrate our public works employees. We have some of the best in the business working to make sure our community has the infrastructure necessary to greatly enhance their quality of life. That's your streets, water, and everything that goes with public works. Tom, guys, thank you very much for everything y'all do. So, thank you to Public Works. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. So now we'll move back to item 5A, Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Hayes.
Today I used to do this yearly, but with COVID, it kind of got off the annual thing to do. So I'm very happy to be able to do this. What I'm going to cover, this is going to be an overview of who we are, what we do, our plans for the future, and it's mostly going to cover what we do to support the town of Monument. So this is by no means everything that we do out there, but it is geared towards you guys and your efforts here. So not just support of the town of Monument, but Monument's local businesses, their residents, and a little bit about membership. Next slide, please. This is truly our only reason for existing, providing leadership to support, improve, and promote existing and new businesses, enhancing the retention, expansion, and business throughout northern El Paso County and areas beyond. This is what we live for every single day. Next slide, please. This is who are we? We actually wear 3 hats. We're a Chamber of Commerce, we're an Economic Development Corporation, and we're a visitor center. And I know some of the stuff we're going to go on in the future, I know it's stuff that you are familiar with, but bear with me as we cover some basics and as a means of review, because review is always good. Next slide, please. We are in charge of the 4th of July Street Fair and Beer Garden. We feel this is a great opportunity for residents and those outside of the community to come into our downtown area. We know the vast majority of the population is on the other side of the freeway. And it's always quizzical to me when I hear some people go, I've lived here 5 years and I didn't know there was a downtown. So it's a great reason to bring them here to help celebrate 4th of July. Although our businesses are typically not open of their choosing, it is a great opportunity to do window shopping. And our goal is hopefully not only just Monument, but those from our surrounding areas, 30 minutes, an hour out, will look at that window shopping and go, you know what, this is a place we're going to come back to again and visit on another day that's not a holiday. Next slide, please. This is our Bines and Brews. We do this, I think we're in our 6th year of hosting this event. This is another way to bring people to one of our other greatest assets, and that's Limbach Park. And at this time, we suggest that for this event, we suggest people get here earlier than 1 o'clock so that they can eat lunch, do some shopping before they enjoy the Bines and Brews event. It is always the 3rd Saturday of every month. Tickets are available now. And we suggest getting tickets early because we do cap at 400 attending because we want to keep it a nice, quaint, small event. Next slide, please. This is the next really popular event amongst our businesses. It's a great way to get in front of the general public. It's our Business and Community Expo. It is held at the Tri-Lakes YMCA. We actually take over both rooms that they have, their whole gym, and also their Young Life space. And we have areas for those that are business to consumer. And then we also have an area for business to business. So it kind of depends on who's there and what they're looking for. This is not a fundraiser. We actually do not, we cover our expenses and that's it. It's just our way of giving back to local businesses. And you absolutely do not need to be a chamber member to participate in this. It's open to all businesses. Next slide, please. Ribbon cuttings, we do a lot of these. We actually have one coming up, 2 of them that are within the town of Monument. We have one coming up Saturday for Karina's Salon and Boutique, which is located on Washington Street. And the next one for Fox Run Veterinarian Clinic, which is over on Jackson Creek area on the following Saturday. Then on June 15th, we're going to be happy to be doing one for the town of Monument for their Waterwise garden. I am going to do better about getting this information out to you guys. We do send an e-newsletter out every week that lists these. So if you are not currently getting them, at one point we put all of you on the list, but things can happen and then you can fall off for whatever reason. So if you're not getting them, let us know and we'll make sure you are. But we're going to try to do a better job to give you individual invitations to all of those ribbon cuttings that are within the town of Monument so that you can see what's coming and you can help attend. Next slide, please. Just a few slides, just about 3 slides on membership real quickly. We do have 4.5 million member website exposures on our website. We have about 525 members and we had about 12,000 attendees to 50 plus events. And these are 2021 statistics. We look at all our statistics at the end of the year and then we do put them in our annual report in January, February time. So these are all 2021 numbers and we do expect that they will grow for 2022. Next slide, please. This is a slide of how our members are broken up. We have If you add, so our community that we consider a community is Northern El Paso County. So we're a Tri-Lakes Chamber. We're Monument, Palmer Lake, Black Forest, all Northern El Paso County. And our version of Northern El Paso County is Interquest North. That is why we have broken this out to not just Interquest to Monument, but then also businesses in Monument. We also have Palmer Lake, Colorado Springs, and then an other, because we have some that are scattered elsewhere. I know this isn't asked before with previous board members, but someone asked why are not most of the members from Monument? Well, it's because we're not Monument Chamber, we are Tri-Lakes Chamber. However, and obviously we can't force people to join. However, one of the statistics that a lot of people don't realize is a good majority of those Colorado Springs businesses are businesses that have the owners that live in our community. They live up here, and because we have an amazing amount of business owners that live on the northern side, even if they travel south for their businesses, because we are such a great area. So those business owners are savvy enough to understand that there's a reason why you support your local community where you live, not just where your business is. Obviously, that is information we have knowledgeable, but that's not information we publicize. We never publicize where people live, obviously. So that is one of the reasons why it may look like most of our businesses are Colorado Springs, but they do have a very direct connection to us here in Monument. The other category of those that have a direct connection to us are businesses that are not in our community. Think of a big copy machine company. We don't have one of those up here, but yet that company is doing business with a lot of our businesses up here. So it makes sense for them to be members of ours. The one thing we do encourage is we try to get our members and our businesses, that they have to do additional business, head south. Heading south is better than heading north, because heading south keeps the money in El Paso County, and you want the sales tax dollars to stay in El Paso County. You head north, you're going into Douglas County. And I don't think anybody's going to think Douglas County needs more of our money. We need to keep it down here. So that's one of the important factors also why we have businesses that cannot be served up here in the Springs, and why we encourage people to go down there versus go. One of the things is, well, actually, let's move to the next slide, then I'll move on to that. So the next slide is our e-newsletter. As I mentioned before, we have about just under 3,000 total contacts there. The click rate is above industry average. We are probably sitting between 30 and 35%, and industry average for those is about 20%. So that means we have more engaged people that are actually not just looking through it, but are clicking and going through to find out more information. And over 127,000 communications that went out in 2021. It's kind of hard to see for you guys, but the number of businesses, probably I'm going to guess about 75% of our businesses are small. They're from 1 to 10 employees. And that is kind of the sweet spot of where we are to help. Plus 1 to 10 employees are businesses that don't always have the resources of what they need, because they don't have the funding, they don't have the staff to research and do things. So they come to us for their help, and that's what we do. So, but we're pretty good at it, and we've got that down pat. So one of the things we're going to be working on is engaging more in the medium to large size businesses, because the more businesses are engaged in their local community, the better it is for everybody, including the town. We don't want businesses out there just operating and not having engagement with anybody outside. So that's one of our goals coming up for 2022 and going forward. All right, next slide, please. All right, how did we get through COVID? I'm just telling you whether you want to know or not, but the thing is that we were able to weather it pretty well, and that is thankful to El Paso County. So a lot of our members, non-members or new members were non-existent. We didn't go after new members. We didn't talk with anybody that just seemed wrong in the middle of COVID, say, hey, join Chamber and give us money. So instead, we were just there to serve people. That is all that we did. Some members dropped. I will say the vast majority of our members stayed with us. They even stayed with us enough to beat our budget, that we made the budget pre-COVID. So we were very, very thankful that our existing members stuck with us and saw the value of what we had. But our events died. I mean, they just died. And that makes up over 60% of our annual budget. So that's kind of a big hit to take. So luckily, the county, who I've had a very good working relationship with over the years, looked at all of the chambers in the El Paso County, and there's probably 8 or 9 of us total, and said, you know what, this is a good use of our money in the form of grants so that we are not helping just one business. They did do some individual business granting, but they also granted to us, knowing that we in turn are helping hundreds of businesses, not just one. So it allowed us to stay here. And most chambers do make a lot of their money off of events. So you're missing your new members, you're missing your events. It was about a 75% decrease in our funding, but the county stepped in and we're very thankful for that. Next one, funding and staffing. The reason why the grant is so important is 90% of our funding comes from the membership and events. So that is what is our normal year, our events and membership. And actually we're to the point that we need to add someone to our staff. We had a half-time person that worked 20 to 30 hours. We lost them right at COVID and we have not been able to bring someone back then, but our events are full going as much as they were before. So that is one of the things that we are looking to hopefully do if we can get some of our funding up from the businesses. Let's see. So one of the things that is a challenge with the businesses is they're a little skittish right now. You have inflation, you have hiring that is a problem. You have supply chain issues that are a problem. So the money that they used to make prior to 2019 is tough. So their attitudes are a little, we got to wait and see. So that is one of the things that we are going to try to help with, is help them understand how they can go forward and how they really should have more of a bright outlook. I've talked to a lot of economic development professors, I guess. We have one great one here locally in Monument. And although it doesn't look great that we're probably going to go into a recession, unfortunately, she does think, and a lot of the other ones think too, it's going to be very short-lived. So every time I think our business community has gone through something, we've been able to come out of it even just better if they can just hang on in the middle. Operations at their visitor center, which is our third hat, are busier than ever. And if the predictions from local and state tourism is true, the summer of 2022 is going to be even crazier. I know everybody in 2020 and 2021, they talked about how everybody was wanting to get outdoors. Well, we got a lot of visitors during 2021. And I remember last year looking at Black Forest Foods, which is across from our parking lot, and we're seeing California, Texas, like 80% of the cars there were from out of state because people are wanting, they're not traveling as much internationally still even now. So they're wanting to get out and look at new places locally. So that is pretty important to them. So we expect that we're going to have a crazier than normal visitor center this summer. Programming, we host monthly events geared towards small business. That is all they're geared towards. They are absolutely free. That is something that I've always been adamant about. They are completely free, and they are completely free to everybody. Again, you do not have to be a member to come to our events. It could be social media. It could be how to tell your story. It could be how to have a great website to attract people. We do classes for all of that stuff completely free for small businesses. Downtown Merchants. So the Downtown Merchants Association, actually Wednesday, there's going to be a vote to actually decide if they come up under the chamber. That particular group is its own separate 501c6, which we are too. And those business owners are understaffed. They are so busy. They just don't have time to manage what you need to manage, to do your art hops, to do the small town Christmas, to do all of those kinds of things. It takes that daily person to go out and get the information, put the stuff together, put the flyers together. And they were really struggling. So we offered and said, hey, if you guys need help, let us know. So that was a discussion that we had. And they said, you know what, if we could get rid of the admin stuff, that would be fantastic. So we're going to be the admin. So there's still going to be under, I'm confident the vote will go positive because I haven't talked to anybody that is going to vote no on Wednesday. So I'm just going to talk about like it's going to happen. So they are still going to be a committee. So they are not going to lose their group. So instead of being having to keep up with it being an official nonprofit, they're going to be a committee underneath this. They're still going to have a president. They're still going to have people that are part of the committee and they make their own decisions on what they want to do. We're just there to help them execute them. I am super excited about this because to me, a downtown is the hub of everybody. I mean, you have to have a good, viable downtown for every community. And when I say community, this is the downtown hub for the entire northern Colorado, northern El Paso County, not just for Monument. It is the important downtown for the whole area. So I'm really excited that we're going to be able to get to help them with that. Let's see, elected officials. I do have a great working relationship with all of our elected officials, especially the ones with the represent our state. I meet with them regularly to find out what they need from us, find out what their goals are, what their important things that they want to have accomplished during each legislative session, but then also to tell them what we need, not we as chamber, but we as businesses, what our businesses need from them and the support that they need from them. We also have a great relationship, obviously, with police and fire. Any organization, school district, I sit on their finance committee. It's probably about my 10th committee I've sat on of theirs over the years. We work with civic organizations, other local nonprofits, you name it, we work with them. And I really enjoy that because anybody that comes to us, this allows me to be able to direct them exactly who it is that can help them for what they need if it's not something that we can help, because I have knowledge about all of that. For the police department specifically, it was mentioned a little bit earlier about the half-cent sales tax. Our board felt strongly that that needed to pass because economic development is super important. And in order to have a good, thriving community, the last thing you can lose is people's safety, because along with safety is confidence in your community. We already have a fantastic police department, but they're human. They can only handle so much as our community grows. So that is why we felt this was super important. And that is why our board voted to allow me to take lead in helping pass this. And we're super, super proud about that. Let's see, local organizations. I am president of the Southern Colorado Business Partnership, and that's made up of pikes of chambers around the region. And the Small Business Development Center, the BBB, and also the Colorado Springs Visitor Center, which helps keep us more informed on local and state visitor information. These are important. These are all of our El Paso County organizations that help support businesses. So we all get together monthly. We all talk. We all want to make sure that we are behind each other in supporting. If there are region-wide things that we need to get behind, then we do it as a group. One of the regional wide things, unfortunately, right now that we are talking about came to us from the state attorney general, and that is, we're all unfortunately familiar with a lot of the suicides that have happened with our local teens here in Colorado. But he gave a statistic that Colorado is like the second or third at the top for suicides for business owners. That is something I don't think it has affected us here locally that I'm aware of. But it could tomorrow, we don't know, but it's a huge number around the state. So he is bringing that to us, and this happens to be Mental Health Month also, so it's very fitting. So the Attorney General is going to be meeting with us and helping us get the tools that we're going to be getting out to everybody else to say, these are the things that you need. One of the things we've heard is someone wanted to get help and they went to their insurance company and said, who do I need to go to? Well, the insurance company said, oh, you need to go here. So they call. It's a 3-month wait. You need help now, not 3-month wait. So part of this list that we're putting together and we're actually going to be putting out in the next couple of days is the other resources that they have, the state-run, the community-run, the nonprofit-run organizations. One specifically for veterans. We have a lot of our business owners that are veterans. Those are the different areas that if their own insurance or their own current place of where they go to get help can't help them, we want them to have more resources. And we're putting this out El Paso County wide. Actually, the state attorney general, he's coming to us first in the entire state because he was super impressed that us as a group, we work together. Chambers are not competitive. We only want the same thing that everybody wants. And so he was amazed that he can go to this one meeting, get this out to all of us, and boom, it's done. So hopefully I think he's going to go around the state and tell everybody else they probably need to act a little bit more like El Paso County because we are the best county. All right. Let's see. Social media, last thing on the list there. We just hired a part-time high school student. Actually, she's graduating in May to handle our social media over the summer. For us, we did this plus because we're taking over the town group. There's a lot that's involved with that. And then also the community as a whole. She helped us out last summer as part of a grant and was amazing. High school students, you know, for us, we want to learn something new. It's 20 hours. For them, it's 20 minutes. So it's fantastic. We are in charge of our own social media. Obviously, we do run the Tri-Lakes restaurant area and bar page. We also run the Tri-Lakes business page, which came out of COVID, but has been a great resource, and restaurants are able to still put their specials up there. So if you guys are on Facebook and you're not part of those two things, absolutely join them. And then in addition, we're admin on the downtown Facebook page, all the Insta pages, and a whole bunch more that is a little dizzying to me, frankly. In addition to monitoring many community pages, and we get a lot of people asking questions, both in private message and through, Nextdoor and Facebook. And so we're responsible for looking at all of those, and we need to answer them and give them the answers that they need. Next slide, please. What does our future look like? Bright, of course. We are super happy that we want to continue the relationship we've had with the town of Monument. I've been in this job. This July will be 11 years. So I have been through a lot of town managers. Hopefully Mike's my last one. We're about retiring about the same time, so I don't want him to go anywhere. And, I love that you guys are here, and we just want to work with whoever is in the leadership position, because we all have the same goal of supporting the chamber. We do have some new programs that we're going to be adding. That's one of the things we wanted to do as we go forward. We are going to be adding leadership training for our businesses, especially smaller businesses. You hire younger people and then you promote them, and suddenly they've never had anybody underneath them. They have no idea how to do it. So those are some of the programs we're going to be adding. And then in addition to CEO roundtables, we have a lot of CEOs in this community that really are not engaged outside of their community, and they feel a little bit alone sometimes. So we want them to be able to engage with other CEOs for ideas, for what are their pain points, for manufacturing. Sometimes we've seen people where they've actually been able to work with the same manufacturers, just whatever it is, we want to help support them. In addition, we're going to be starting a chamber foundation, which is going to be geared towards economic development and education. I'm also excited that at the end of last year, we submitted to the county and were awarded a $40,000 marketing grant for the Tri-Lakes community. So we're already in talks with Town of Monument, Town of Palmer Lake, and El Paso County as to how we're going to spend that. We're going to be adding things like a better visitor center information online. We're going to be suggesting things to do out, day trips. We know we're not a destination really that people are going to stay a week. We have one hotel in Monument, but we're a great day trip and we're not that far away. You don't have to pack a lunch to come up to us. So come up, spend some money, do things, hike first, then go eat breakfast at the coffee cup, then do shop, whatever. So we're going to put little lists together of what people can do. And for you guys that live here, that's going to be great for your visitors. Especially if you have to work during the day and you're going, what are they going to do all day? Have them look at these lists. Another thing is we want to add to our hiking maps. There's not a lot up here to our hiking, and a lot of our hiking are social trails also. So we're going to be working on that too, but trying to figure out more information, because that's probably the number one request we get throughout the summer is where can we go hiking. Another program that I'm currently getting the information on, I started this last year and then other things got in the way, and I'm going to finish it this year. It's a gift card service for Monument. What that means is when someone wants to buy a gift for someone here and they don't live here, they don't know what your favorite restaurants are, they don't know what your favorite stores are. Restaurants and retail that want to participate, they can do like a $50 gift card, and there's a list of 15 places that you can spend that. I think it's a fabulous idea to also support our local businesses, but then you guys get to pick what you want instead of just having to go to a specific restaurant because someone Googled what was the closest place to where you lived, and it may not be your favorite place. So there's a lot involved with that. It'll be an actual little credit card, but I am super excited. I've been wanting to do this for years. And like I said, that I'm going to do that now. Next slide, please. So this is how the Town of Monument is listed right now as President's Council. You guys are one of our top investors up there with Mountain View Electric Association. And it is the highest tier, the President's Council. And we just want to say thank you for your support. Next slide, please. That picture is just to keep you entertained a little bit because this is our last slide, I promise. And that happens to be Bash, my dog. And he, if you were lucky, he is in the chamber sometimes and you'll get to see him when he's, so we put, what do we need? Bash says dog bones. I say not a lot, but there is some. So this is for your information. And I would love to have any, what I've talked about is for your information and I want to hear any questions that you might have, but I would like to briefly cover what we need. We are working on getting more sponsorships and members, which also will help in the funding. It goes directly to the programs that we offer our businesses. One of the things that I did want to talk about is the amount that the town has been supporting us, which has been for 7 years, I think. It's about 9% of our budget. It's not a ton, it's about 8 to 9% of our budget, not a ton of money. But the amount has not changed. It did change a couple of years ago, but it went up an amount that covered the town was covering our utilities. We were informed we need to cover our own, which is fine. We will do that. But the amount that it went up is less than that. So we actually are getting less than when we first got in the beginning. So, and I know you guys already had one meeting, but there will be an ask from us to increase a little bit what the town is supporting. And this is part of what I want to let you know what this is going for, that the money that helps supplement mostly our visitor center and our services to our businesses is going to come back to the town tenfold. Although we are a Tri-Lakes Chamber, about 80 to 90% of our efforts are to the town of Monument. We are located here. Our visitor center is here. You are the hub of the community. And if Monument stays fiscally healthy, then everybody else around them is going to also. Plus, all of the residents around us, even if they're not a resident of Monument, they come in from everywhere to shop into Monument. So one of the main reasons I wanted to bring this up is right now under your budget, we are under nonprofits. I'm not so sure that's actually the right place of where we should be placed. The reason being is we are not a nonprofit that helps puppies and small children. We are an economic development corporation. We directly help the businesses to help money come into the town. So we are not a 501c3 like a lot of nonprofits are. So it's just something to think about that when the town decides the money that they graciously donate to some of our civic organizations and our social services that are very much needed and very much supported well by those nonprofits, we are not in that same category. I'm not looking for a handout. I am looking for an investment. So when you guys support us, it is supporting us as an investment in our community that comes back to you. Everything we do is in support of businesses, as I've mentioned before. We talked about this being the center of the community, and it's last point I'll make, which just amuses me. I am here maybe 3 or 4 times a week with meetings having to do with different committees that are here. And I find myself, I live downtown, I work downtown. I love this town. And it's funny because I'll use the word we a lot. And I know Mike and Madeline hear this a lot. I say we, and then I'm like, wait, I don't work for you guys. You guys, so I think of myself as someone that is just supporting the town and what we do. And so I just want you to know that we will continue, regardless of how future 2023 budgets are, we will continue to be here. We will continue to support, and we will continue to do everything that we do to ensure that this town stays the best that it is now and even better in the future. Last slide is just questions. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Before we get to questions, because I think we might have some questions, especially in regard to funding, I would like to see if the board would agree and Mr. Foreman could schedule our next retreat. Terry Hayes bring the same presentation and we get the opportunity to discuss it and how to move forward.
Definitely can.
So with that being said, is there any other questions that we would like to address now or wait till a retreat?
I'm good to wait.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hayes.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem Elliott texted me that she didn't have the new password and wanted to make sure with Drew that she's online. She logged in late. Okay.
Oh, there she is. Yes. Thank you. This takes us to item 6A, an ordinance acquiring real property from CDOT. Ms. Vanden Hook.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. This next ordinance is to talk about the old Park and Ride. The town has asked CDOT to convey the parcel of property known as the Park and Ride parcel, which is located at 300 West Highway 105 to the town. And I'm trying to pull up a map for you. Does it work? Sorry. Well, you know where the old Park and Ride is, on like right next to Cerrito Loco, just to the south. So CDOT has agreed to convey this land for the price of $10 to the town. And if the board approves of this acquisition, the town would take ownership of the parcel. Additionally, we would intend to grant the Chamber of Commerce the encroachment license that would allow them to continue to use the northern part of this parcel. We would envision, by taking over this parcel, that we would improve the landscaping and signage that would help enhance the entrance to the town of Monument. And we've already begun working with the community on some of those ideas. I'm happy to answer any questions about this acquisition or the encroachment license that we have with the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. One question for me, the parcel does not include the very corner there. Is that just an easement? Do we have access to the corner itself? Sorry, the map's not up. I can't point it out. But the 105 and 2nd Street end, it looks like the parcel ends before the intersection. So do we have the ability to maintain the area closest to the intersection?
That is a question that I was not answered when we talked with CDOT. Joe, do you have any additional?
Yeah, we'll find
information?
out, Mayor, whether
Okay.
or not. I know that our request from them is that we are going to be able to maintain all of the area from 2nd Street all the way back to where the Chamber existing building is.
Okay. And the chamber plans to continue to use that building as available to the community for meetings and, okay. This, just so the rest of the board members know, this is something that myself and the chamber have worked on for multiple years, and CDOT has never wanted to give this eyesore up to us. And we finally, I give credit to our regional director. He's a local guy and he understood, you know, he's new since we've been in this process before, and he understood the need and the reasoning behind it. And I think we can make this property appealing to the town instead of what it has been. Are there any questions from the board?
So, Mr. Mayor, what you're saying is that parcel that goes from the line to the curve, that's the property you're in question of?
Yes, I believe it's an easement that we can landscape as part of the rest of the property. I just wanted to make sure.
Right, and we'll confirm that.
This is an ordinance. Mr. Rivera, is this a public hearing item? Ms. Hogan is giving me a yes. So this is a public hearing item. I will open it up for public comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this item? Mr. Anderson, do we have anyone online that would like to speak for or against this item? Okay. Any other discussion or questions from the board?
No.
At this point, I will close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it back to the board for a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 08-2022, an ordinance acquiring real property from Colorado Department of Transportation and permitting the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce to continue to use it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll?
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
trustee LaKind,
Yes.
trustee Romanello,
Yes.
trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes. That motion passes 6-0. Item 7A, resolutions. A resolution approving preliminary planned unit development, Connexus Phase 1. Ms. Flynn.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and trustees. This is for Connexus Phase 1 Preliminary PUD Plan, Major Amendment Number 2. The project is located between Old Denver Road and I-25, adjacent to Wagons West and Monument Ice Rink. The existing zoning. The Connexus preliminary PD site plan was approved by the Board of Trustees on February 5th, 2018. Amendment number 1 was approved on August 6, 2018 to add religious facilities and institutions as a permitted use. The property has been subdivided in 2 lots, 1 tract for detention pond and 2 tracts for open space and drainage. The construction for a church on lot 1 has been approved and is nearing completion, which is about 8.4 acres for future development. Triview Metro District provides both water and sanitation to all development within Connexus. The existing surrounding uses includes Wagons West, Women Valley Chapel, the ice rinks, and monument storage. The applicant is requesting a major amendment to Connexus Phase 1 preliminary PUD plan to add industrial standards and other minor changes to update references from the town's current land development code, Chapter 18. When this project was approved, it was during Chapter 18, which was our previous land development code. And their minor changes mirrors what was recently approved for Connexus Phase 2 and 3 for their industrial standards. And Andrea Barlow and Mike DeGrant are here tonight, and they're going to go in further detail regarding those minor changes to this preliminary PUD plan. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to approve Connexus Phase 1 preliminary PUD plan major amendment number 2. And staff also recommends approval for Phase 1 preliminary PUD major amendment number 2 based on the findings that the proposed major amendment is in conformance and the review and approval criteria for major amendment as outlined in sections 18.03.470 and 18.03.450D of the Town of Monuments Land Development Code. And then Mike DeGrant and Andrea Barlow are here with their presentation tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Thank you for taking time to listen to us tonight. This is really a cleanup of the old PD plan based on all the work that went in with the neighbors and with staff on Phase 2 and 3. And when the plan was originally amended the last time to add church and religious facilities, the maps weren't clear. There were still 10 buildings on that site. It was really needed to be updated, and we wanted to follow through with the neighbors and really update this so it's one cohesive project for all of Phase 1, 2, and 3. So really a housekeeping item. I'm going to let Andrea go through all of the updates and changes, but we've added the 500-foot setback on industrial. It's more of a mixed use type lot. We've got 1 lot left to build. Again, that is a platted lot, and infrastructure is already in place with Wagon Bow Way is the cul-de-sac that serves this property. So I'll turn it over to Andrea, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, trustees. Andrea Barlow with NES. I'm just going to briefly go through this presentation. It's quite short, not too much to go through with you this evening. Do I have control or? I do. I just need to switch. Yes, it is now. Yeah, there you go. So I think you're familiar with the location opposite Wagons West, which is a new residential development still under construction. They were approved about the same time Wagons West, as you may recall, was annexed into the town. And we have a creek, Teach Out Creek on the north side and Unnamed Creek on the south side. And then we're sandwiched there between I-25 and Santa Fe Trail and Old Denver Road. Again, history, I think Debbie gave a brief outline. We got our initial approval in February 2018, and then we did an amendment to add the religious use to allow the Woodman Valley Church. That area was subsequently subdivided into 2 lots, as shown. I've kind of overlaid the plat with the aerial just to show the 2 lots for development. Lot 1 is the Woodman Valley Chapel. Lot 2 is the 8.4 acres remaining for development, and then we have the 2 tracks on each side end for the drainage areas and open space, and then a small tract for detention, that little triangular area. So that's the current configuration of the site. So this was the approved preliminary PD plan that was presented back in 2018. As you can see, we had a number of smaller buildings and anticipated a road coming in with 2 cul-de-sacs either end. We have since revised that to just a single cul-de-sac coming off Old Denver Road. And these were the uses that were permitted at the time. We're not changing the uses. We are not changing any of the kind of general parameters of the development. We're just adding these additional industrial standards. And as was noted, we're also clearing up some of the components of the language that was in the PUD to refer to the new Chapter 18 instead of the Chapter 17 that was previously. So the current request, and I mentioned the industrial standards, as Mike indicated, we went through a lot of effort with the neighbors at phases 2 and 3 very recently to come up with some acceptable industrial standards. So we've carried those forward. Included within that is that 500-foot setback from existing residential, which ironically means the new Wagons West. So while this property has been identified for industrial uses for many, many years, the newer development now requires us to look at that 500-foot buffer because it was actually approved a couple of months before this was originally. We're also clarifying the maximum square footage for a building. It was kind of inconsistently referenced as footprint, square footage. So we've just clarified that and also updated the plan itself to reflect the church layout. So this is our current plan that we have in. As you can see, the church on the south side, on the right-hand side of the plan. That's what's currently under construction and currently approved. And then we've just looked at what could we fit on the remaining lot, 8.4 acres. We've shown the 50,000 square foot maximum building size and a couple of other buildings of potential development. It is only a preliminary plan. It may end up being different configuration, it may be platted into more than one lot. So that this is just like a preliminary layout to see what the site could fit. And we've carried forward the same architectural and landscape standards that we had in the original plan. So just briefly, I'm not going to go through all the review criteria for the preliminary plan, just picking up on a couple that kind of are still relevant. So our open space, quality and function of open space, we're still maintaining the 2 tracks of open space on the north and south ends of the property where the existing drainage ways are located. And we are also continue to provide for a mix of uses. That was always the original intent of this plan, was to have mixed use development rather than pure industrial development. As you see, we've already, a church has already gone in there and lots of other potential users are interested in the property. We are not really obviously looking at a variety of housing in this particular portion of the property. There's no residential allowed, but we are looking at that mixed use component again with that criteria at the bottom of the page there. Moving on is really more of the relationship to existing areas. And so again, we are continuing with the same mix of uses that has already been approved. So we're not adding any uses. It's consistent with the recently approved Connexus 2 and 3. development, which is also in proximity to residential on the west side of Old Denver Road. So similar standards to ensure compatibility with those neighbours across the street. And then obviously the addition of the 500-foot building setback is probably the key change in terms of that compatibility. And that applies just to industrial uses, just to be clear. Preliminary plan review criteria is consistency with the comprehensive plan. As we noted when this originally got approved, this is a mixed use area, and we believe that the mix of uses we are presenting in the plan itself. And also when you think about, you can see that pink area extends to the west side of Old Denver Road. If you think about the uses that are in there, there's residential at Wagons West, there's the recreational use of the ice rink, there's monument storage. And then with the types of uses we're envisioning on this property and that are permitted with the existing plan, it will be a mixed use land consistent with the comprehensive plan designation. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board for staff or Ms. Barlow? Seeing none at this time, this is a public hearing item, so I will open it up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, Mr. Anderson, do you have anyone online that would like to speak for or against this item? Okay. We'll bring it back to the board for further discussion or questions.
At one time when we approved the religious status of the church that's there, they mentioned that there might be restaurants and other things because that would be an attraction with that area. Are there any plans in the work for those, do you know, or is this going to be strictly industrial? I know it says mixed use, but just kind of looking for where we're going or what you're thinking.
So yes, there are a number of interested users for Lot 2. Some of those are restaurants. We're still evaluating and waiting for potential buyers to move forward with letters of intent to go to contract. But we're talking to restaurants. We're talking to a number of different users for the parcel. Again, the reason for moving forward to update this tonight is really more housekeeping to make it a cohesive project with phase 2 and 3. But yeah, we're entertaining ideas and conversations from restaurants and other users.
Okay. And so, yeah, this is kind of a preliminary sketch that you've got here, so it could change in that regard. Also, when you say you're being cohesive with the other area, is that the area that's north of this area?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. We want to follow through with the 500-foot setback. We want to follow through with the design guidelines that we've worked so hard with the neighbors and staff on in phase 2 and 3. That's really primary and the reason to move this forward so that it's all consistent. Everybody knows exactly what's going to happen there with those overall design standards. So didn't want any ambiguity between one phase and then the next 2 phases.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for staff or the applicant? Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing portion of this and look for a motion.
Let's see, I make a motion to approve resolution number 30, 2022, a resolution approving preliminary plan unit development major amendment number 2 for Connexus phase 1.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Hogan, we have a motion and a second. Will you take roll, please?
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Trustee Shaning?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes. That motion passes 6-0. That takes us to item 7B, resolution number 31, 2022. Resolution approving a preliminary and final plan development for Native Sun Construction. Ms. Flynn, am I to understand that Resolution 31, 2022 and Resolution 32, 2022 will be presented together?
Correct.
Okay, so for the board, you will have one presentation for items 7B and 7C. Go ahead, Ms. Flynn.
Good evening again. This is for Native Sun Construction preliminary final PUD plan and Native Sun Construction filing number 1, which is their final plat. Their project site is located south of the Baptist Road, Forest Lakes, Woodcarver Road roundabout, which is west of Falcon Commerce Center. The existing zoning, Native Sun Construction was annexed into the town of Monument on March 15th, 2021, and concurrently zoned planned unit development. The Forest Lakes Metro District will be providing wastewater services, and a new well will be provided for water for all development within Native Sun Construction. And when Forest Lakes Metro District can provide them water, they will use their water at that time, but at this time they will be using a well. Existing surrounding uses include UPS, Napsis Corporation, and Pioneer Landscape Center. Phase 1 consists of 7.36 acres, and Phase 2 is 3.3 acres, which is a total of 10.66 acres. The building heights and sizes, or the office will be 35 feet and 7,000 square feet, and their shop will be 30 feet tall and 6,120 square feet in size. There will be 21 standard vehicle parking stalls. The proposed uses are office, shop, and construction yard. And this is a proposed elevation of their office. So it's going to be a nice office building, not a typical construction yard office building. So it's going to be upscale, just like Falcon Commerce Center adjacent to it will be. So a nice building for them to have. A Native Sun Construction filing number 1, their plat is shown here, is 10.66 acres in size. It's 2 lots. Lot 1 is 2-story, 7,000 square foot office, 6,120 square foot shop and construction yard, and it's 7.36 acres. Lot 2 is their future lot, which will consist of a 10,000 to 12,000 square foot office, which is 3.3 acres in size. When this lot comes to the town to be approved for a site plan, this is when Native Sun Construction will be responsible to do any improvements to Woodcarver Road, because as you can see here, Woodcarver Road is part of this plat, which is part of their land property. And once they do the improvements, when they submit Lot 2 in the future, they will be deeding that road to the town after they do the maintenance to it, to our roadway design standards. And Native Sun Construction is consistent with the Town of Monument's comprehensive plan to adopt street standards that include sidewalks and paths and ensure that the newly developed streets are both aesthetically pleasing and environmentally sensitive. When Phase 2 is submitted, as I just said, Woodcarver Road will be designed to construct to the town's roadway design standards. After the improvements are completed, the road will be deeded to the town. The design and the construction will include the connection to the Santa Fe Park and then to the main sidewalk along Baptist Road, which in turn will connect to the community and trail and park system. They will continue to promote the monument as a business, shopping, service, employment, and activity hub for Tri-Lakes region. The mix of office, shop, and storage yard uses proposed in this preliminary final PUD will further the objective of promoting monument as an activity hub. And Planning Commission voted 6-0 of approval for Native Sun Construction preliminary final PUD plan and their final plat based on the findings that the proposed preliminary final PUD plan and final plat is in conformance with the review and approval criteria for preliminary final PUD plan and final plat as outlined in sections 1802-260C, 1803-450D, and 1803-460D of the Town of Monuments Land Development Code. And Peter Patton is here with Patton and Associates on behalf of their applicant, Native Sun Construction. Let me just bring that up.
Thanks. Thank you, Debbie.
Mr. Mayor, could we do a presentation for both B and C together? Or did I miss that? I missed that. Thank you.
Good evening. Peter Patton with Patton Associates, local land planning firm. Also here this evening is Fred Bede, who is the area manager for Native Sun, and Chris Day, who is our civil engineer, in case you have questions. I am going to go through these fast because Debbie really covered a lot. Is there a pointer on here?
It won't
You
work.
guys can't see.
Yeah.
See that one, but they
But I don't
can't
want to
see.
blind people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the yellow highlight here shows our parcel, and it's a bit unique because most of it is in that triangle, but the flag going north that says Woodcarver is literally Woodcarver Road, which is part of the site. It's a private road located on private property. So UPS is obviously under construction just to the north, and then NAVSIS building, which has been there for several decades, is our neighbor to the southeast. The site is kind of two parts. The left hand or northwest portion of it is hilly and wooded, and the remainder of the site is really pretty flat. There are some wetlands there that will be preserved. There's one in the south central part of the site, and then a tiny one up by our road there. And we already showed this. It fits in great with the neighborhood. It's light industrial. I shouldn't say we, Debbie did. Here's our site plan for the whole property. So we're going to have two accesses, one off of they're both coming off of Woodcarver on the upper left, but now we're going to extend Woodcarver into the site along that western boundary and then come back, use that for the office building. So we're going to circle back up that hill and use that access for the office building, which is of course the building on the left to the west. The other access is going to be off the straightaway central part of the site there, and that's going to be the primary construction yard access. And the construction yard you can see is kind of bounded by that thick black line. There's a full spectrum detention pond, and then the right hand or eastern part of the site has some trees that we're preserving, and then that's the future office development. That's a vacant parcel that we're subdividing off, not proposing any development. This is a little bit of a zoom on the portion of the property that is going to be developed at this time. So the office building again on the left, and then the shop, the rectangular building, the shop down in the construction yard. And you can see again the construction yard boundary, and you can see a little bit better the access off of Woodcarver here. We already saw this. It's quite handsome office building that will be a nice addition to the neighborhood. Utilities. So the green is the wastewater line. The horizontal at the top is the existing line that's part of Falcon Commerce Center in the Tri-Lakes district. So that shows you how we're going to connect, and we are very close to getting approval from the county to cross the trail. That's their property, so we need what's called a license agreement to do that. And we've been working with them, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any issues there. And then the blue on the bottom is our water proposal. So we're going to do a new water well. We've got the permit, and you can see how that's going to connect into the two buildings. The final plat is so the two lots, what I showed you on the left is the white part that's going to be developed. And then the green highlighted triangle is that lot 2 for future office development. But then you can see the Woodcarver Road going north, and then there's a yellow highlighted rectangle at the very north part, and that's 200 feet of Woodcarver Road that will be dedicated to the town of Monument with this plat. And that's all part of our annexation discussions. So we've been working on this for quite a while, a year and a half, Mike. And so the real need for that dedication for that road came around with Falcon Commerce Center wanting to put Squadron Drive across there. The north part of UPS is the new road, Squadron Drive. So that 200 feet allows that intersection to occur and that no longer be part of our site. This is the last slide. We obviously agree with the staff recommendation and that all criteria are met, including the comprehensive plan. And we're here to answer any questions. Appreciate the time.
Do we have any questions from the board for staff or the applicant?
Yes, I've got one. Can you confirm that you are crossing the Santa Fe Trail? I thought I heard that.
Yes, I can confirm that. We are crossing, Chris, underneath, correct? We're crossing underneath the trail with the wastewater line.
That's sanitation only, right? Okay. Sanitation is crossing the trail.
Oh, okay, thank you. I didn't understand, couldn't hear.
Okay. Trustee Stevens?
Yes. Your office building, is that primarily being used for yourself or is that going to be leased out or any other offices?
It's primarily for Native Sun Construction.
Okay. And your area that you have designated as a pond and picnic areas and that's all primarily for your employees? Okay. All right, let's see what else. I had another question. Because you're deeding, you're developing Woodcarver Road and then you're deeding it over to us. Is there any this will be for staff, is there any Tabor impacts related to that with the additional revenue that we acquire?
No, there's not going to be. Remember last year we debruced, and so now that we're debruced, any of those Tabor impacts would go towards road construction.
Which is what Woodcarver is all about. Okay.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you.
Even in spite of debrucing, if they're doing the work and deeding it to us, we don't have to take that as revenue, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Just out of curiosity, how high is that fence around the yard? Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the board at this time? Okay. This is a public hearing item, so I will open it up for public comments. Is anyone here in person that would like to comment for or against this item? Mr. Anderson, do we have anybody online that would like to comment for or against this item? Actually, I should say these two items. Okay. If there are no more questions or comments, I will close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it to the board for a motion. Please remember, these need to be voted on separately. Number 31, 2022 and 32, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 31 of 2022, a resolution approving a preliminary final plan unit development plan for Native Sun Construction.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind.
Yes.
That is that motion passes 6-0. That takes us to resolution number 32, 2022.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 32, 2022, a resolution approving a final plat for the Native Sun Construction filing number 1.
Second.
Ms. Hogan, we have a motion and a second. Will you take roll, please?
Trustee LaKind,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to item 7D, resolution number 33, 2022, a resolution approving the final plat, Willow Springs filing number 2. Ms. Flynn.
Yes, good evening again. Willow Springs Ranch, filing number 2, final plat. This project is west of Willow Springs Ranch, filing number 1 with direct access off of Forest Lakes Drive. This is 27 lots, which is the last of the 399 homes approved for Willow Springs Ranch development. It's 6.15 acres in size. Willow Springs Ranch preliminary final PD site plan was approved by the Board of Trustees on July 6, 2020. Filing number 2 consists of 27 lots, 2 tracks, and 2 streets. Lots range in sizes from 5,465 square feet to 11,488 square feet. The tracks and open space will be owned and maintained by Willow Springs Ranch Metropolitan District. Water service will be provided by the Town of Monument, and wastewater service will be provided by Monument Sanitation District. The plat is consistent with the approved preliminary final PD site plan. And staff recommends, and the Planning Commission recommends approval with the condition. Approval of Willow Springs Ranch filing number 2 final plat based on the findings that the proposed final plat is in conformance with the review and approval criteria for final plat as outlined in section 18.02.260C of the Town of Monuments Land Development Code with the following condition. That Cattail Drive access will need to be converted to a right-in, right-out when and if a new roadway adjacent to Willow Springs Ranch filing number 2 is constructed for the Lewis Palmer School District number 38's future school site or the potential development of properties to the north. And here is the area where the future road will go. And this area is the future, I don't know if you can see my pointer on this screen, is the future school site. And that's to the west, and to the east is this filing number 2. So this will be adjacent to filing number 2, this road going north into a future piece of land that may or may not be developed, and for the future school site to have a road. The future school site has asked the county for Forest Lakes Drive to continue into Rickenbacker. So this will be a road that can go into future development and for the future school site rather than Forest Lakes continuing into Rickenbacker. So that's the condition that staff has proposed and the Planning Commission has approved. And Tim McConnell is here with Drexel Barrel to answer any questions or provide additional feedback on this condition.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Tim McConnell with Drexel Burrell. We prepared the final plat for Willow Springs filing 2 as we did with filing 1. Debbie's covered it pretty well. We're in total compliance with the approved preliminary PD site plan. Same lot count, same layout, everything is pretty much the same. Full disclosure, we're also representing Lewis Palmer School District 38 in regards to this right of way that you're seeing here in front of you. Our initial application for the school district was actually to vacate the chunk of Mitchell Road or Forest Lakes Drive you see kind of going off to the north and west because it's bisecting the school district parcel. The school district had about 9 or 10 acres to the west of that right of way and an additional 5 acres that was dedicated with Willow Springs Ranch. On the east side, they wanted to join those to have one contiguous school parcel, better for layout for their the future elementary school at that location, and they wouldn't have kids crossing the public roadway. So we initially submitted to the county to vacate that portion of the roadway. County came back and asked for this potential future right-of-way on the east end of the school property to extend north in the future if there is development in the county or in the town in the future. And I think the town has had some discussions with property owner or potential developer to the north as well on that. I can try to answer any questions on that, but that's the reason that we're also processing this dedication of right-of-way through the county on the east end of the school parcel. And that is where the condition came from. But if this roadway ever goes in for the school district or other properties, then our proposed access to Forest Lakes Drive would be converted to a right in, right out, so there aren't conflicting traffic movements on Forest Lakes Drive. Debbie's got our site layout there pulled up. The Cattail Drive that extends to the north. That's really it. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. I'm glad to.
Okay. So it sounds like the school district and the developer are in agreements with how to go about this.
Correct.
And it sounds like there's possible that will change. Not the agreement, but what the plan is could possibly change.
Not at this point. Plan is to still vacate the right away that
Right.
bisects the school.
Okay.
Grant this addition.
Okay.
So that there is potential access to. Forgot to mention. Part of our, that we're going through filing to Forest Lakes Drive is still fully owned and maintained by El Paso County. So we have an access application that's in process with them for our Cattail Drive. And with the school district, there will be basically an access application that goes into that future right away that dedicated.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions from the board for staff or the applicant? Seeing none, I'll open it up. This is a public hearing item. Do we have anyone that would like to speak for or against this item? Sir? Okay.
We could have them stand closer to the mic. We've got some residents online that can't hear.
Okay. And can you state your name and
Yes,
where?
Chris Jube, J-E-U-B, live at 16315 Rickenbacker Avenue.
And here, Mayor.
Is that mic working appropriately, Andrew? Trustee LaKine, we're working on it.
My name is Chris Jube.
Mr. Anderson, how much do you look forward to Monday nights?
Let's give this a try.
Yeah.
How does it work? Does it work good? My name is Chris Jube. Okay. All right.
One second. Trustee LaKine, could you hear that?
Here, Mom, there.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Chris Jube. I live at 16315 Rickenbacker Avenue. And I guess I'm not for or against this. I just have one question about this particular thing, and then about the property to the north that affects the neighborhood up there. But if it's a right in, right out turn, it's going to the west of Forest Lakes. And if people, like 27 neighbors, are using that right out and they can't turn to the left to go out of the neighborhood, they will be making U-turns up by the school district. And I wonder if that was thought through, or that's my first question. Mike, you want to answer that now, or should I? Yeah,
No,
go to
just
the-
make your
The
comments,
second
sir.
one is just a comment. And it's really to the property to the north. I'm happy to see that Rickenbacker is kind of off. I've appreciated the conversations with you, Debbie, that and trying to explain that and trying to understand how that affects the neighborhood up there, because that is El Paso County property. Most of the neighbors there have been living there for over 20 years. I've been there for 22 years. I'm just to the north of Georgia Ward's parcel that was sold. And that kind of raised everybody's eyebrows in the neighborhood. We've had a meeting with neighbors going, okay, now that 40 acres could be developed. And that's just, we just don't know what to think. I mean, forgive my naivete, but this is the first planning meeting that I think I've been to in a long time. So anyway, that if you could comment on that about the development to the north as the housing goes, or if you're associated with that or not, or what you know about it, that would be nice. So those are the two questions that I have about the right in, right out, and then the Ward property to the north.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have anybody else who would like to make comment for or against this item? Sir.
Hi, my name is Fred Free. I live at 15861 Lake Mist Drive in Monument. And I'm going back on this question with Cat Hill Drive. A couple of meetings ago, I brought some concerns up about the possible stop sign coming out of that area. And I was told after the meeting, I talked to a representative, I believe it was from Willow Springs, and I'm just guessing. But they told me that there was going to be a light or a signal go in there. I didn't really feel comfortable with the response I got. And just so happened that the day after the meeting, the crew was out on the corner of Cat Hill and why can't I think of it right now? Channel Isle. And I talked to them. There happened to be an individual there from Monument, and I asked him about it. He said, there is no plan to put a signal or a stop sign there. And my concern is,
Congressmen and women in our U.S. Congress and say, get on it. Because
oh, I thought we were talking to us.
Somebody online, your microphone is on.
big shout out to Real America.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so anyhow, where I'm coming with this is on the bottom of Channel Isle, there's a bus stop right there right now. And with the added traffic that it's going to come down that street, it's going to make it rougher for the kids there. It's a blind intersection as you come out of Channel Isle right now as it is. So I was just wondering if we are going to do something, but I think it was Debbie brought up that when and if there's going to be additional development there, there may be something that's going to be on the plans to ensure the safety of that area right there.
Thank you, sir.
Evening, my name's Stephen Phillip, 620 Spats Road. Happening in the future, things like that. And so since Tim did bring up that potential future development that is just north of Willow Springs, there are concerns. What I'd like to do is kind of briefly address just the general issue of density. And in 2019, Planning Commissioner King raised this issue with Willow Springs. In fact, he voted no against Willow Springs because of the density. There are several things that happen with density. One of them brought up is traffic increase and all the truck related issues to that. Secondly, criminal activity always goes up with higher density. There's no way around that. And in fact, having a conversation with one of the officers, in fact, I'm a former law enforcement officer from Portland, Oregon. So this is something I'm aware of and mindful of. And talking with one of the officers, Monument, it appears, is now at the point where criminal activity by those from outside the community has exceeded those cases within the community, from people who live in the community. And that's an important factor because higher density always increases not only criminal activity, but it increases the flow of criminal activity from outside the community into the community. And I think I would, I guess, like to encourage the board, Board of Trustees, to consider that moving ahead with the potential northern extension with Georgia Ward's property that's been sold. And mindful of the fact that generally speaking, I'm not really talking about the town Monument in general right now, but generally speaking, that means increase in law enforcement officers. Thankfully, we brought on 2 more officers tonight. One of the other roles I get to play is I'm part of the board of the organization Shield 616, that we get the officers the high caliber ballistic gear that they get. And we're very grateful for that opportunity, but increases for service, increases for calls for service, increase issues related to the fire department, not just the police department. And I think this issue is very relevant where the town is right now. There were reasons that Planning Commissioner King said no to the development. And it was specifically on the issue of higher density. Those things, as he pointed out, parcels keep getting smaller. And what that does, not only increase the density, but one of the other issues that's been raised is affordable housing. The argument is smaller parcels make the housing more affordable. The opposite is actually the truth. As you decrease the size of the parcels and the cost of the homes go up, you're actually doing the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve. And in fact, that is exactly what's happening in town. Affordable housing is now going to be relegated, if possible, to multifamily units exclusively. And so I just would encourage you, as you move ahead, not only with that extension potentially with Georgia Ward's property, former property, but the rest of the town. And we've been like the Jews, we've been here 22 years. My wife works at Palmer Ridge High School. Our children all went to Lewis Palmer and Palmer Ridge. Though we live outside the town of Monument is our home. It's our town. And we are committed to this community. We're committed to this town. And I'm just expressing some broader concerns as the board moves ahead with these developments, to be very mindful that criminal activity is going to go up. The cost of housing is going up. An entry-level home now costs more than I paid for my 4,600 square foot house and 5 acres. That's nearly impossible to imagine for someone who's trying to get an entry-level home. So those are my concerns. I appreciate you letting me express them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make comment on this item, either for or against it? Mr. Anderson, do we have anybody online who would like to make comment? Okay. This time I will close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the board for further discussion. And the applicant, yes, my apologies. The applicant rebuttal, go ahead.
Thank you. Tim McConnell, not really a rebuttal. In regards to the Cattail Drive. Sorry,
Thank you. Or are we just having other problems?
technical issues.
So about those Mondays.
That any better?
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott, can you hear the speaker?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Anyway, the Cattail Drive, the access into Island 2. If
I can't now. I'm not sure if he's not speaking into the mic.
Right. Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll back up here again then. So the right in, right out on Cattail Drive would only be required if this extension on the east end of the school property was constructed from Forest Lakes Drive to the north. And in that case, we already have, I don't know if Debbie, if you can go back to the Willow Springs 2 plat drawing. I think it's Short Prairie, the east-west road on the north. So that would tie into that new roadway on the school property. So there would be access back out to Forest Lakes Drive where they're not having to go make U-turns. That would be a full movement intersection without having a pointer. It's kind of hard to describe that, but they would restrict our Cattail Drive to a right in, right out, but they would have full movement by coming back out through Short Prairie roadway and then back out to Forest Lakes Drive on the new road that would be constructed on the school property. And if it doesn't make sense, I can go back and point at it on the large screen if that might help, but.
It will only
you like-
be a right in, right out if, with the condition, if that road goes in. So if that proposed road goes in, Cattail Drive will be a right in, right out. If that proposed road doesn't go in, then it won't be a right in, right out. It's only if the proposed road goes in. So this proposed road, if this goes in, this will be a full movement. So this will connect to Short Prairie Drive here. And then people will come out of Short Prairie Drive, go down the road here to get out, and it will be a full movement.
There, Debbie's got the cursor. She can
Yeah.
show a little better. All right. And I'll fall back. I mean, this may answer a couple of your questions, Fred, as well. When we went in for the vacation of the other right of way, if you want to go back to the other exhibit, Debbie, sorry. When we went in for the vacation of the right of way of Old Forest Lakes Drive / Mitchell that was going to tie to Rickenbacker with the county, we did not want a connection to the north that's shown here. This is a request of the county after we submitted for the vacation to make the school property a contiguous parcel. The county was contacted by a potential developer of the Ward property to the north, and they made us add this as part of our process going through the county for the school district, that the school district provide this access or potential future right of way. I do know which developer or builder is looking at that property, but I don't think it's my place to say that. The town has met with them, so I'll let them discuss that item with the Ward property potential development and what that might look like, but we have nothing to do with it at this point in time. So different engineer, different developer than Willow Springs Ranch. Relation to Fred's question, as far as the traffic, hopefully some of that just answered some of those questions. With Cattail potentially being converted to right in, right out. If not, it will stay a full movement. There's no plan for a traffic signal there at all. There will be a street light at the corner. part of the typical streetlight program. Mountain View Electric installs streetlights at all of the intersections, and there will be a pedestrian crossing there. But the county has no intention for a traffic signal to go there at this point in time with our permitting that we're going through with them. And it is a county-controlled roadway at, at Forest Lakes Drive, so that's about all I can tell you on that, so. And other than that, I understand the, Chris, everybody's concerns with development approaching on or coming closer to the larger parcels in the county. So I guess I'd encourage you to talk to the town further about that discussion of the Ward property to the north.
Sir, what was the change in density in 2020? Do you recall?
Change in density.
Was there a change in density? So there's
No.
never been a change in density.
No, we're.
Same parcels
Has
and
stayed the same. This layout is the same with the same lot count for this filing 2 area.
Okay.
Is what it was approved on the PD.
If I recall properly, this was a number of years ago, but there was an area that was more, the overall density of the Willow Estate was consistent with our ordinances, but there was a certain area that was more dense, and then there was another area that was larger lots and less dense. So that kind of, and then there was a big section that was, what do you call it, retention pond and you know, green space. So that was my understanding how they maintain there's some areas that are a little bit more dense in that area.
Okay.
The overall development is like 220 acres, and there's like 100 acres of open space. The mouse
Right.
habitat.
I remember it was a huge,
And
it
there
was
is a-
mostly green space.
There is a more dense area up near Cynthia's, closer to the industrial property up there where Jabil is.
Right. But that's not on the agenda tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Was there anyone else who would like to comment? Did I already close? This gotten all out of sorts. Okay. Yeah, it is. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 33-2022, resolution approving a final plat for Willow Springs Ranch filing number 2.
And that is
Second.
with the condition.
Yes, with that condition.
Okay. Ms. Hogan, we also had a second, and I'm assuming those seconds came with the condition also.
Yes.
Yes.
Will you take roll, please?
Trustee Romanello,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
No.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-1. That takes us to item 7E, resolution 34-2022. Leasing of 3 Ford Explorers for the police department, Mr. Hemingway, Chief Hemingway.
Commander Lupton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Commander John Lupton, and the chief has asked me to speak on this issue today as we ended up having 3 Ford Explorers that we were able to get. This is in right after we followed up with that Chevy Traverse we were able to get before in the previous motion. This is the second half of those now that they actually came in due to COVID and all of the stop builds for so long. You bet.
Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. We're going to pause for just a moment while some people move around. Okay, go ahead, Commander.
Okay, so the discussion on this was due to the extraordinary circumstances caused by the pandemic resulted in a decreased production of electronic components for the new vehicles over the last 18 months. This created an inconsistency with the availability and delivery of new vehicles, and most of of all law enforcement was only able to get things as they were arriving. So there was no rhyme or reason of what usually happens is you can order as many vehicles and put them on a waiting list pretty much and say, we're going to try and build this many. And there was no process because no one had any timelines on it. So we could only take what we were getting. The 2022 Ford Interceptors, we were able to get when they came in through our local vendor, which is who we've been using for years here now, at least a year or two with Watts Vehicle Leasing and Upfitting. And they are upfitting our vehicles. They were able to get to 3 Ford Explorers, which is their police interceptor package, that they were able to come across for us to be able to request, get the up build on at the prices that were in the sheet. As we go through those things, I can demonstrate them, but they were also in your packet, and I don't want to waste the board's time if you've already reviewed it, sir.
Is everyone comfortable with what they've reviewed? Okay, continue on.
So the police department is asking for your approval of these interceptors, of purchasing 3 Ford Explorer police interceptors. The total cost for the 3 vehicles with the upfitting over the total is $155,305.46 on a 40-year lease. This would cost Monument Police Department $41,083 annually on the lease agreement to move forward on those 3 vehicles to upfit them for the police department use and the increase of officers coming to Monument PD.
And I just want to clarify, obviously, 2F funds are covering this, right?
Yes, sir. In fact, this was budgeted. None of this was, it's within $1,000 of the budget. We did have some price increases from COVID and things have increased in price, but we're still within $1,000 of what we had budgeted. And we have that within our funds as we've made adjustments, sir.
I just want to clarify that.
Yes, that was not in the memorandum, or at least I don't see it, that it was coming from 2F funds. Other questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion. No, it's not a.
A motion to approve resolution 34-2022, resolution awarding a contract to Watts Leasing and Upfitting for 3 Ford Explorers.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LaKind,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning.
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you.
Resolution 35-2022, resolution approving contract with Concrete Experts. Mr. Tharnish.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Resolution number 35, 2022, is to approve a contract with Concrete Experts LLC for the new ADA sidewalk project along Beacon Light Road. As stated in the background paper and in the documents in the package, this project is being funded, and I didn't do the percentages, but $243,725 of this is funded by a CDBG grant. And the remainder difference, once the bids came in, is being funded by the regular budget process for capital projects. So that's where the difference to make this up. The $243,000 is a reimbursable grant. Once the grant is, the project is complete, we'll submit documentation and then we'll receive those funds back into the capital projects budget. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions related to this.
Can you clarify that real quick? So 600,000 total?
No, this budget, the project you're awarding tonight is for $337,637.40, which is what the winning bid was when this was put out to bid. The problem we have is we have estimates based upon data from quite a while ago and is following track with all the projects we've been doing lately, water, streets, roads, they're coming in at a significantly higher rate. One of the things that drove this project a little higher is because its federal funds were required to comply with the Davis-Bacon Wage Act, which drives 10 to 20% increased cost for this. But again, we're being reimbursed 243,000 of the 337,000 that you're going to award tonight.
Okay, great. Questions from the board?
This is just here in this building that they're doing the ADA sidewalk, or?
No, this project is on Beacon Light Road, but it's basically just south of the skate park.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to run the entire length of on the east side of Lavalette Park, all the way down to 3rd Street. And then on the east side of Beacon Light Road, it's going to run the entire length of the federal housing project apartment building there,
Okay.
all the way down to the corner. And it consists of curb and gutter for a majority of it, and then sidewalk on a larger section. There will be some sections of sidewalk near the Air Academy Credit Union that won't be replaced because what's existing there is compliant. But we'll redo the corners. Whenever you're dealing with ADA, the first step of that process is to rebuild the intersections, bring them up to compliance, and then you come back with a road project, or in this case, a sidewalk project.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Tharnish, over the past couple of years, we've tackled a lot of these ADA and walkability projects, and it's been coming along great. I know I've gotten good feedback on the access and the being able to walk in areas that weren't pedestrian positive before. So thank you.
Okay, thanks.
If there's no other questions, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 35, 2022, a resolution approving a contract with Concrete Experts LLC for the new ADA sidewalk project on Beacon Light Road.
I'll second.
We have motion second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. That takes us to item 8, discussion items. 8A, draft ordinance for overnight camping. I'm going to turn that over to Trustee Shaning.
Okay, so thank you. This is a start. This is something that I've heard from multiple residents, and it's a resolution that's near and dear to my heart. I live on the south side of town off of Baptist, and I cannot leave my house at night to go to the grocery store or go get gas without seeing dozens of people sleeping in their cars. Not typically, they're not Monument residents. They're people that are coming here and they are using our roadways and our business lots to camp. They're bringing crime. I just the other day at the Pilot on Baptist, I actually saw a bus the size of an 18-wheeler with about 10 homeless people get out, and they also had a grill outside. They were grilling food in the Pilot parking lot. This is not the Monument that I feel that our residents want to live in or should live in. And with the influx of people going up and down I-25, as well as the added stress of more industrial and light industrial spaces in our town, I think it's something that we need to tackle immediately for the safety of our residents. So I began drafting an ordinance that prohibits people from sleeping on our public roadways. There is special attention given to sleeping on public roadways near parks, schools, etc. And there is also a provision in here as to what defines camping in your vehicle. And also I have spelled out the penalties for this, with the first violation as a monetary penalty. The second is also a monetary penalty. And then the third is a higher monetary penalty, as well as a charge of criminal trespassing.
Okay, questions from the board. I have a couple. my concern is, so in the past, we have been short-staffed with our police and we're working on that. But our current camping ordinance, I think, includes a large portion of this to include higher penalties. How does yours differ from the current ordinance?
So I've gone through and I've defined that, like I said, it specifically defines where people can't sleep. And then I've added that if they are camping or dwelling in an area that's visible from public roadways, I have treated that as a safety issue, the same way that I would treat people, for example, fornicating or smoking crack in their cars or something along those lines. So basically, this gives the police the tools to enforce people sleeping anywhere in the town of Monument in their vehicles. They can go on their way.
But they already can enforce anybody sleeping in their vehicles.
That is not what I was told when I met.
Other
with-
than private property.
Correct, yes. So that is what I've added. And then I've also added, like I said, the urgency clause, as well as the stipulation that on the 3rd, it becomes a criminal issue. Now, I know that we've already had that, but I live on the south side of town, and this is no fault of the police. They do an excellent job in the town of Monument. I know that they've been short-staffed. My children are 6 and 7. We drive down Old Denver Highway past the Pilot 3 to 4 times a day, and they use the unfortunate words that this place looks like Denver City over on the south side of town. They call Denver City, and that's exactly what it's starting to look like. I don't know what it's going to take to get some of these people removed from these properties and the roadways. I mean, like I said, when we're to the level of a bus full of homeless people getting out in Monument and cooking on a grill on the side of Baptist, something else needs to be done.
Chief Hemingway, would you like to comment on, have you reviewed these two? The current ordinance versus the new ordinance?
Yeah, so it's a little unclear to me and staff, you know, when you look at the camping, the original ordinance that you're talking about, can you hear me okay? You know, you look at the intent, and maybe Joe can help me on this. You know, if it's specifically for camping, which we read the original ordinance, this looks like it's more set up for whether your intent is camping, full-time, living, part-time. You know, so when I first look at it, I have a couple concerns. If we get a DUI or somebody comes out of Trails End and says, hey, I don't want to drive tonight, and now we push them to drive, are we going to incur any liability, you know, if we miss something like that, if they are sleeping? The other thing is the fine schedule. You know, I have to take this now to staff, you know, so I'd recommend maybe we give us a chance to do a breakout. I'm not sure if our court system is hearing fine schedules yet versus putting liens on properties. You know, so that's one thing I do want to check with staff on. You know, right now we deal with this at the lake all the time, but we write a parking ticket. You know, they're classified as misdemeanors. You know, so, you know, when you look at the lowest common denominator, you look at down the road, are we going to end up with, I don't think our court will, but are we going to end up with a warrant for somebody that spent the night in their car? So I think we have a lot of questions. You know, I know this is just discussion at this point, but I would like some time to break out for us to speak with Mr. Rivera and just to really fine tune some of the details, compare the two ordinances. Yeah.
That definitely makes sense to me. Can I guess to address your concern about the DUI, I mean, it's just like any other ordinance where officers always have that discretion. So I would be cautious about not enacting an ordinance on the fear that somebody might drive home drunk. I mean, if you encounter somebody sleeping in their car who's drunk, that becomes your discretion. That becomes your issue per se. But I would say to be cautious of it for the fact that we don't want people drinking and driving is maybe not, I don't know.
Or it could be sleeping. You know, we don't have a rest stop between here and probably Fountain. You know, so the same thing. And You know, one thing I'm cautious is when we enact an ordinance and the community sees it as a tool, you know, they want to know why that tool wasn't enforced in front of their house that specific time. You know, so I just, you know, I'd like to see very specific clauses that would give that would encourage the officer, you know, to use, you know, a great deal of due diligence when, you know, applying a level of reasonableness to this. Yeah.
Other comments? I would also express concern with in any area of monument in which sleeping or dwelling would be visible from public roadways. The street in front of my house, the public roadway. If I have my window open, you know.
You bring up a valid point. You should change that sentence to unless you're in an actual residential dwelling or business dwelling or something.
Then, so would the.
I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we have any statistics from a crime perspective related to those that have been found sleeping in their vehicles in the town of Monument? Do we have anything that's been captured that way that the chief could share with us?
Trustee LaKine, as far as raw data that, you know, any correlation between people camping and committing crime, proactively, we see the majority of people camping, you know, on private property. You know, we don't see a tremendous amount of people sleeping on the street. You know, we use the term corral a lot. You know, we try to keep, you know, people who need a place to stay at the businesses that were deemed appropriate to sleep at. You know, the Pilot, the other truck stops. You know, there's sanitation, there's lighting, there's many people around. You know, so I think that in and of itself probably prohibits some. And when we don't see it on the places where, like I said, quote unquote, corralling people that do that, we try to encourage the business owners already to work with us to remove them from the property. You know, I can remember when I got here about 2.5 years ago, Walmart looked like a camping site. You know, now you go in there at any given time, there's 1 or 2 people, and I think those 1 or 2 people are typically people traveling, who their staff have deemed, you know, these people need a place to stay, and, you know, we'll let them get through the night, and then, you know, that's it. Versus, you know, moving in the 1969 school bus.
No, I get that part. I'm just curious if you have any, for the people who are sort of living out of their homes at these businesses, have you seen an increase of crime that you could measure that come from those people living in their cars at these businesses?
Trustee LaKind, I would suggest that would be part of the police department's reviewing of this ordinance, so they can compare it to what we've seen.
That's fine. I wasn't expecting him to pull it out right now. I'm saying as part of the review, if they could look into that would be, yeah.
And the only thing I would add to that, thank you, Mayor, that's a great point. But the only thing I would add for that is we don't codify like a crime on a police report as whether or not the person was spending the night. You know, if it occurred at 2 a.m, unless, you know, the narrative is very specific that the officer writes in the report, we would only see that there was a crime that occurred at Walmart or at the Pilot, but it wouldn't necessarily specify if it was due to overnight dwelling. So that may be problematic in of itself.
I mean, I guess, you know, and I realize this is anecdotal, but that area over there is just becoming known as a place to go buy drugs and find prostitutes. There are high school students in the town of Monument that joke around and they say, I'm going to go to the Pilot and find a hooker. I've heard that multiple times. It's become known now. And I think that area deserves a lot of extra attention. I know, and I didn't spend a ton of time, but I know when I went on a ride along with Officer Corporal Case, he it seemed like he must have knocked on 20 car doors, and maybe 4 or 5 of them seemed like they were genuinely just looking for a place to sleep. And I can honestly say that the rest of those people sleeping, I mean, you could tell they were on drugs, they were tweaking out. They were not the kind of people that I want around my children. So that's where I'm coming from on this. I don't know what's measurable and what's not, but I think we need to look at it.
Okay. Mr. Foreman, do you have your direction for the next meeting?
Yes, sir, I do. And just have a question for Chief. Chief, have you not had your officers and your staff going around to these businesses and informing them of people camping there and trying to take action on this already?
Yeah, and we do work very closely with them. We've worked with a pilot. Some of those people in the parking lot are actually their staff. Our bike patrol's been in and out of those parking lots. So it is measurable because I've been out on a bicycle myself, looking for prostitute and drug dealers, and not so much because of this, because every position that we're adding, whether it's a street crimes unit or a special select enforcement team for narcotics. We don't want to just add a position because 2F passed. We're looking at every layer of need and saying, hey, this is even if it is rumor or, a high school kid saying, go over here. At this point in the venture, we would be, making arrests for hand-to-hands. Our officers are in there, diligently. So, I just want to caution us on perception and rumor and, give us the time if that's what people are hearing to say, hey, this is a specific problem and let us go in and address it.
And you guys have been,
Yeah.
you're over there a lot, so
Thanks.
Mayor Wilson, I have a question to the chief.
Okay.
So Chief Hemingway, I'd like to know if you have seen any sort of impact at all from the illegal immigration that's coming across the border, 200,000 people a month that are not being vetted and just going throughout the United States in various places. Has there been any sort of impact at all that you can foresee in the town of Monument as of yet?
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott, that's a great question. And reaching out to our counterparts from ICE and HSI, we've been looking specifically at the corridor of human trafficking, drugs, and that's really where they're seeing it. They're still capturing their data. I presented some to the manager about 2 months ago. So they are seeing an uptick in trafficking, but we're still waiting on the breakdown as far as is it illegal or is it domestic trafficking? And I would surmise to say a good portion of it is going to come back as illegal. But again, that would be something that I got to get reach back out with HSI on.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to item 8B, filling a board vacancy. We have 2 applicants for the open position of trustee. Would the board like to get a brief from those applicants? I believe one of them's here is Miss Warsack. So both of them are here. Would the board like to hear from those applicants? Okay. Mr. Ramos, will you give us a 1-minute overview of wanting to be on the Board of Trustees? 1-minute overview of yourself. Yep.
Very much, Mr. Mayor.
Is the green light on?
Off to a great start. Mr. Mayor, trustees, residents, everyone. I really am excited about the potential of me becoming a board member. To me, this is a wonderful way for me to serve my community once again. My name is Redmond Ramos. I was a Navy Corpsman combat medic with the Marines for just over 5 years. I had 2 deployments. On my second deployment, combat deployment to Sangin, Afghanistan, I was running to render aid to an injured Marine when I stepped on an IED or an improvised explosive device, which eventually cost my left leg. After the loss of my left leg, my biggest concern was whether I was going to be able to serve again. Service was incredibly important for myself and my entire family. And being there in the hospital, I felt worthless, felt like that might not be a possibility anymore. I learned a lot of things through my injury and recovery. I learned a lot about resiliency. I learned that even though I have no left feet, I still can't dance. And I also learned that you could serve in many other ways. I thought when I was younger in this situation, service meant military, it meant police, it meant fire, it meant teaching. And of course, that's service that we all love and appreciate. When I came out of my situation, I realized there's a lot of other ways to serve. I'm sure Chief would love to have like a RoboCop on his team, but it's not the way I'm imagining of serving our community right now. When I left the military, I spent some time doing as a career for a couple of years, doing medical training, training combat medics and Marines that were active duty in the military. That was a way that I was able to serve my community at that time. And I went on to do a lot of volunteer service, such as volunteering for a hospice center, volunteering for Challenge Athlete Foundations. And I would be absolutely honored if this could be my next way of serving my community. So thank you very much. Am I staying here?
Well, you completely failed the 1 minute thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Am I sitting down?
No, go ahead, sit down.
Yes, go ahead and sit down.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead and sit down, not no.
Ms. Wersak? And ma'am, I was joking about the 1 minute thing, so.
Thank you. Mayor and trustees also online, thank you for considering my application. As you saw in my application, I do have a degree in economics and political science and governments, politics, whether it's local, state, federal, even international, has been a huge interest of mine for literally decades. I subsequently got a degree in geology, and so the course of my interests changed after that, but still I watch online. And several months ago, I became very interested in watching Planning Commission and Board of Trustee meetings. And next thing you know, I'm in the website. The town website is fantastic. I'm not sure who contributes to that, but thank you. And I've been through the documents on our projects, through the land development code. The zoning function is great as well. And I just became increasingly interested in what goes on in this community and how you all work together to solve the problems and make decisions, very difficult decisions that affect our police force or our water and wastewater treatment facilities, or like drafting ballot measures for Tabor or the Home Rule Charter Commission. So anyway, I started thinking actually about pursuing a seat on this board this fall and was very excited when you decided to appoint for this vacancy now. So a little about myself. I was born and raised on the East Coast, mostly small towns in Western New York or Pennsylvania. Met and married my husband in Florida. And prior to moving to Monument in 2017, we lived in Western North Carolina. So we definitely like the mountains and the hiking and all that. When we first moved here, we came to Monument. We had to relocate briefly to Lone Tree and then came back and finally purchased a home here. So we love Monument and we are invested in the preservation of this town as a unique community. It's a community of distinction, really. It's probably the best place I've ever lived. And I definitely would love to serve the community and contribute to our quality of life here.
by serving on this board. So, thank you.
Thank you. Before the board moves forward with this discussion, I do want to thank both of the applicants for putting forth an application. And there is only one seat, but like was mentioned, there is an election in November. So whoever is appointed to this board, I hope the other will consider the November election as another avenue. Board members, I think we have two great applicants. How would you like to move forward? Would you like to do question and answer? What other information would you like? How would you like to do this? Any suggestions? Last time, I believe we did a question and answer, and then we did just nominations, correct? So does anybody have anything they'd like to ask the applicants?
Okay.
We're going to do question and answer. Can you both step up here and just take turns answering the question? Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So there have obviously been a lot of concerns in the last several months, or I guess you could probably say the last decade, about the density of developments that are being built. Can you speak for a minute or two about how you feel about the future of Monument's development?
Green light on.
Yes, thank you for that question. Yes, I am very concerned about the density of development. The last few years, development has been rapid, and I'm definitely not against development. If you're not developing, you're stagnating, and that is never a good option. But with rapid development, there are infrastructure concerns. There are increased crime, and therefore a higher burden on the police department, our fire department. And of course, water issues are always a need as well. So the increased density, the rapid increase in population and need for water and other services, that is a big concern. So the important thing is the timing of our infrastructure improvements. We've got to make sure that those coincide with the development, do not lag. So that would be a chief concern of mine. Also, one of the reasons why Monument is so distinct is because we do have areas where the residents are more spread out. And to cram us all in might, I think it will remove our distinction, and ultimately we will just become an extension of Colorado Springs, and we don't want that. So anyway, thank you. I hope that answers your question.
I really do agree with basically everything you just said, Miss Sandy. It's a huge concern for, I would say, every resident here in Monument. This is our town, a town that we love very much, and it definitely makes us all nervous when we see proposals of things that won't be considered, in, at least in my eyes, a lot of our eyes, smart growth. As it was mentioned earlier, a stagnant town is a dying town. I do believe that we have to understand that growth is going to happen, but we can completely decide as residents and as a town when something is not smart growth. My family, as I know, has been involved with this fight for quite some time. I have my extended family that have been living in Monument for over 20 years. They were pretty heavily involved with the open space movement in Woodmore. And then, as a lot of residents here, we were pretty involved with the Save Monument action and just trying to create a positive future for our town of Monument. Thanks.
I'd like to build off that question. Part of being a board member is quasi judicial roles, where things such as development have set rules and laws that you're required to follow. How do you feel personally addressing a development that meets all the requirements of the law and you're in a quasi judicial role? Explain to me how that position affects you or how you feel about being in that position.
Right. Okay, so obviously private property rights are foundational to our society, our country even. And our many individuals, we have to live in community. So hopefully we learn to develop our properties in a way that enhances the community for anyone and doesn't just serve our own needs. Answering your question, at the very beginning of a developer's presentation, maybe a sketch plan or even a preliminary plan, and even better, talks with the developer before any of that is brought forth. That is the time to address or influence the project, because after that, once you've approved that preliminary plan, they're vested and you are legally bound to approve if they are following the land development code, the zoning requirements, whatever other requirements, the comprehensive plan, following that. So there's always going to be compromise. We have to be careful with our compromises as representatives of the community. But in the end, a board member is legally bound to approve if it follows the plan. So the influence needs to come before it gets to that stage.
I think a lot of us have learned, if anybody's familiar with the methadone clinic that the town had addressed quite a while back. There's a lot to learn from that. It really is, I think, in terms of the responsibility of the board member, we don't want to have it become a point where you are then forced to approve something that the town and the residents of this town do not want. So I think the biggest power and strength that we're going to have as a board, or me personally as a board member, is doing my extreme due diligence at the very beginning before I create a problem for the town. I think it's really just a lot of research and a lot of hard work at the beginning.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay. You guys can have a seat. Would anyone from the board like to make a nomination?
I'll nominate Redmond Ramos for the vacancy on the Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
We have a nomination, a second. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we will take a vote with the nomination of Redmond Ramos. Ms. Hogan?
I think it would probably be better if you made the motion and included the terminology appointing.
Oh, sorry. I will make a motion to appoint Redmond Ramos to fill a vacancy on the Board of Trustees by appointment.
I second.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hogan.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Trustee Shaning?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Still thinking about it. No, yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Ms. Hogan, do we do oath of office at the next meeting?
We can do it either time.
I would
the-
recommend the oath of office in the next meeting. I felt bad for trustee Shaning that she didn't have the opportunity to invite her family and friends and everything like that. So I think it's more appropriate that we wait. And then you can bring your family in and bring, everybody that you want to come visit, come see the swearing in.
Unless, I mean, is that accurate, Mr. Rivera?
I think you could appoint, the statute is very vague as to what appointment means. So I think that you want to make your appointment effective on taking the oath, and you want to have schedule that oath to the next meeting. I don't.
Okay.
Says shall appoint. Direction past that.
So are you offended if we wait till the next meeting? Okay.
So the board is in agreements that the appointment and swearing in will take place next meeting. Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Ramos. And Ms. Wersack, please consider running in the next election this November. Thank you.
And just for clarification, Mr. Ramos will also have to run. Is that not correct? Yeah. So
Yes, he will. This term.
And just for further clarification, you technically did make an appointment tonight.
Right.
The oath of office will take place at the next meeting.
Right.
Which is required in order to serve.
Now that we're clear on all that.
Crystal clear, right? All right, this takes us to our public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make comment at this time? Ma'am? If you could state your name and address for the record. Oh, use that microphone. Is the green light on?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Christine Momborg. I live at 714 Prairie Road in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I need to fill out this paper as well.
Ms. Hogan, would you like her to fill it out or just,
Well, our code does require it.
okay, please fill.
Start the timer.
I thought it just had to
after
be
I
on the
fill
record.
This out, that'd be great. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mayor and Board. I'm the owner of Dragonfly Pata Yoga. I was here on April 18th, and I've come back to kind of continue that discussion because I've learned some things since then. I was unaware that the issuance of permits wasn't completely dead in the water. The notification that I received back in December suggested that it was done, full stop. And so that's why I was trying to make an appeal to everybody. Now it's just a matter of when, I suppose, but naturally this is very time sensitive for me. Half of my business, my livelihood comes from the services I provide here at the Town of Monument. And I believe you heard from members of this community how important that service is to them, how much it's helped people that have gone through some very difficult times, especially through COVID. I couldn't believe how many people were coming out during COVID and people telling me how valuable the experience was to be able to come on a regular basis to help them through the trauma of COVID. And as I mentioned before, this is an absolute dream come true for me to run a business on my own. I never imagined I would do so. I was on that corporate track before, but I started the business with the knowledge that the application of permit would be available to me. I hadn't even formed the business yet until I knew that. And so I've built this market, I've built this business for the past 5 years, and I can't recover that. It's already injured me, my ability to promote in Colorado Springs, where I also operate, is I can't sell a season pass if half of the availability is gone. The other immense joy was being able to visit my sister every Saturday after being on the lake. She lives in Kings Deer. She spoke as well on April 18th. Spend time with the family. I've taught my niece and my nephew how to paddleboard and their dog Rocket how to paddleboard. And so that joy is also gone. And I truly felt the sincerity that you guys were committed to my success, but now I feel disenfranchised and inconsequential. I know you have a lot of really important things to deal with, and I'm just, one small piece of everything. But I'm hoping that you'll consider working with me in some way. I'm happy to work with you guys. Colorado Springs has their designated sub-concessionaire. Router has Reservoir has their designated sub-concessionaire. Maybe I could be considered for that. Maybe I could just have a temporary permit while everything is sorted out so that I don't lose my livelihood, because I just don't have any alternative to this. You guys have been so great towards me, the team, and encouraging me and supporting my success, asking me, how's it going? Great. It's good to hear that your business is growing. And so I would like to kind of build on that great rapport relationship and continue to offer my valued health-minded services to the community. And I'm sure you remember the pictures that I submitted before. It's no small feat to offer that. I would not have been able to do that when I first started teaching yoga. It's taken many, many years to grow to be able to do this. So thank you for your time, and I hope you'll consider.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Anderson. Oh, yes.
Green light's on. So my name is Brandy Turner. I live at 2065 Bobcat Valley Court here in Monument, and I am a home rule commissioner. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank the board and the staff for all the hard work you guys have done to start building such a positive momentum in our town. I believe home rule is one of those pieces of that positive momentum. It's not all about development, growing, building houses. It's about building the community. So I wanted to thank Trustee Schoenig for meeting with me last week. She and I honestly disagree about some of the points of home rule, but we had a very, very good discussion. We talked about compromise. We talked about the future of our town. So I wanted to take some time to encourage the citizens, staff, and the rest of the board members to reach out to any one of the home rule commissioners and talk about your concerns, talk about what you support, talk about what you think might need to change, and talk about why those things came about, because I think that was a big part of our discussion, was the level of compromise and discussion that we went through that you don't see in the document because you don't hear the background. So please reach out. We're all very happy to talk about it. I think that home rule is going to be a very, very positive thing for our community in the short term and in the long term. And I honestly feel like failing home rule because people don't know all the details or just may not agree with something, although you don't know why you don't agree, I think is a failure for our future. So I want to encourage everybody, please come talk to us.
Thank you, ma'am. Was there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Anderson, do we have anyone online that would like to make comment? Okay. At this point, we will close our public hearing or public comment portion and move on to item 10, board authorization items. It appears staff has no board authorization items, correct? Does the board have any board authorization items?
No.
Okay. That takes us to item 11, Board of Trustee comments. I would like to start with Mr. Foreman. Do we have an update on the permit process for the lake?
Yes, sir. We're going to be making a presentation on May 16th with completed research and to request direction from the board at that meeting.
On May, okay, so next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And just so I'm clear, the reason why we pretty much held up everyone that was getting permits because of what?
Well, it became cumbersome for staff. It became cumbersome for people out at the lake. There's a lot of, we're receiving a lot of complaints. And then we were getting multiple people requesting permits out there. And so we started looking at some of the things that Colorado Springs is doing and some of the other communities that they're doing. And we're going to be able to present to you some opportunities for direction from the board to tell staff, what do you want to do out there at the lake? Okay.
I will say I was down there Saturday morning for the Great American Cleanup, and it was already no parking, packed,
That's
popular.
exactly the problems we're running into.
Okay, well, we look forward to hearing that and we hope that we can come to a timely solution on that.
Okay.
Other board comments? Okay. Takes us to item 12. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
Can you sign this and I'll take a picture of you to send to Steve with the SBA?
Okay.
This isn't the real